So, welcome back here to 12 Hours Radio. I've got a very special episode today. I've got my old friend Dan Wilkins from Landsman Dan coming back into the studio to talk with me. And Dan, how are you making this crazy world and this arguably the biggest story of our times unfolding at the moment?
Well, mate, it's a bit strange for me. Obviously, being a press photographer, we're kind of part of it, and essentially we're an important part of it because people need to get their news from somewhere, and we're finding that our. Oops, sorry, my little camera's just. Sorry, bud. Can we do that again? Or are you?
That's right. I can cut it. I can cut it. I can cut it out. Yeah.
Yeah, mate. It's a strange world for us in the world of press photography because obviously we're an essential part of people being able to get information, and for the last couple of weeks, nearly every news story that I've covered has been about the coronavirus. So it's been odd. It feels like business as usual for us, but obviously it's not. Everything. I mean, the world is kind of half shut down. It's obvious driving to Perth from Mandurah. The freeways are almost dead. The shopping centres, there's no one around and there's no shops open. So yeah, it's a little bit surreal for me at the moment. But it's thankfully obviously still employed and we're quite busy. So, but I just covered the Anzac Day dawn service in Mandurah on Sunday, and it really hit home how much impact this is having on people. Obviously, Anzac Day is arguably one of the most special days for Australians, and probably the most important day for a lot of those returned soldiers, the men and the women from the RSL. And there was only 15 odd people at the dawn service on Saturday, and I chose to go down and document it in my own time, and it was a pretty special day, actually.
Okay. How come? It's just less crowds and it's just more poignant? Or...
Yeah, I guess obviously they'd have thousands of people there normally. A lot of onlookers would go and watch the dawn service. And then obviously for the RSL men and women, it's the day of the year where a lot of them would see their sort of comrades. And obviously they couldn't. So a small group from the Mandurah RSL still went down and lowered the flags and did their bit. And Dave Mabs, the president, sort of had his say. And I just figured it needed to be documented because it's probably something we're not going to see, hopefully, again in our lifetimes. And just obviously as a press photographer, it sort of sparked my interest. Yeah.
Do you also find it's quite, with all these empty cities, it's quite almost like, from an artistic point of view, it's like almost like a strange beauty?
Oh, mate, it's amazing. I mean, some of the photos that people are coming up with, on Instagram and you're seeing on social media, it looks like something out of a Hollywood film, like some sort of zombie apocalypse. I was at Perth Airport a couple of days ago and I was in the arrivals section and there was no one in the arrivals section. And then when I looked over to sort of the departures section, there was 2 or 3 people, probably workers at the airport, and that was about it. And the times that I've been to the airport, it's you struggle to find a car spot, let alone a space to sit, and it was an absolute ghost town.
Yeah. See, I've got my little side hustle delivering menu log at the moment, and it's just the same as like going to Chef Hans Cafe. There, I just park literally right in the first spot next to the cinema there, and it's just, I was thinking myself on Saturday night, I can never get this same car park, can I?
No. No. Yeah. And I mean, that's kind of been the amazing part, is that even though there's been a lot of people that have lost business, there's also been a lot of people that have created opportunity from this.
Yeah.
Like I'm seeing coffee vans and a few others pop up, and they're obviously quite busy, and you even seen some of the breweries that have turned their hand to creating sanitizer and things like that. And I mean, from this crisis, there has been an opportunity for other people to sort of find a way of making money, which is, I guess, a little bit inspiring.
Well, absolutely, because I think, crisis does breed creativity. You just have to look at some examples in the past, like in 1603 to 1613, when they had plague lockdowns in England, that's when Shakespeare was at his peak, when he wrote all those plays. And in 1665, another plague lockdown is when Isaac Newton came up with gravity.
Oh, there might be hope for us.
Yeah. And also there's another story that in 1815, when Mount Tambora in Indonesia erupted and the whole world went into a volcanic winter, Mary Shelley wrote Frankenstein. So there's a lot of hope in the world. I think this is, and I've been saying this on my podcast a lot lately, it's just sit back for the next 3 or 4, next decade or so. We're going to see a wave of creativity that we haven't seen probably for a good 20, 30 years. When we have to think back to our childhood in the 1980s, that's probably the zenith of creativity. I think it's going to come back, and I think that's going to be, for both of us, I think it's going to be really exciting to see.
Yeah, what I'm saying also, especially I guess amongst the photography fraternity, is it's almost unified a lot of people. People are obviously out of work and they're all kind of in the same boat. I've got friends that lost big contracts and lost work almost overnight, and they've almost kind of come together with other photographers and other artists that perhaps are in the same boat, and they're kind of helping each other out. They're offering support. It's that side of it's kind of quite inspiring as well. Yeah.
So if someone who's documenting society, are you thinking we're moving towards more of the common good?
I hope so. I mean, I'm a fairly optimistic and at times mostly positive person, but I mean, at the moment it's just odd. I mean, I'm photographing the Premier, for example, say 2 or 3 times a week with his daily coronavirus media conference. And I mean, these guys, politicians in general, people have had an opinion of up until now, and I'm finding even the attitudes towards them is changing. People are looking towards ScoMo and Mark McGowan as these leaders, and both are doing a pretty good job. And I think even that's encouraging, that people are kind of getting into taking an interest in what goes on in our country and our state. And I really hope that continues heading forward, that people take more of an interest. Obviously, we've got a state election early next year, and I really hope that kind of continues and people just keep having an interest in this sort of stuff.
Yeah, and speaking of politics, how are you seeing Mandurah pulling through this crisis at the moment?
I think they've been pretty good. Obviously, the city is a little bit different to the state. I think the city have handled it really well. I think they've communicated with the residents really well. They did have, obviously, 100 or so employees that were stood down, which is really disappointing. I've got quite a few friends that were part of that group, and so that was a bit disappointing. But overall, I mean, they've offered sort of their support to businesses. And I mean, again, through times of crisis, the leadership at all levels has an opportunity to to shine through. And I think the Mayor, Reece, has done a really good job with his communication. I think they're doing really well. And I mean, I get an email every day from the member for Dawesville, Zach Kirkup, which I've signed up for. It's a really easy to read coronavirus kind of update. And so from that point of view, I think our local pollies, both at state and at local government level, have done a really good job. Yeah.
I have questions.
So from your point of view, obviously, I mean, there seems to be communication, obviously, now at the moment with what we're doing with Zoom. This is pretty unique. Did this exist before? I mean, where has Zoom come from?
Zoom's been around for ages, but I'm from my point of view, I'm loving it up, because now I'm pretty much open. I'm with 12 hats. I'm actually reaching out to Europe and to America, and I'm actually chatting to people over there and getting their perspective. So for me, this is just like springtime. It's just, I'm thinking putting anything up on it's almost like a global. So I'm thinking local, but I'm also thinking global. So I'm thinking it's good. I mean, we're locked in physically, but at the same time, I'm feeling more closer with the whole world. And I think this whole social distancing and social isolation has kind of drawn the world into some sort of solidarity and brotherhood that we never would have thought of. It's a weird paradox. I mean,
Yeah.
what's going to come out, I don't know, but these calamities always happen in waves. So this could be at least the first or the second wave. At least another 2 or 3 will be down the track. But I'm cautiously optimistic things will turn for the better, put it that way.
Yep. Yeah. We actually, it didn't go too well, but we sung my daughter's happy birthdays over Zoom with the various relatives, and obviously because of the social distancing and isolation and that, our relatives couldn't come over to be part of my daughter's first birthday. But we tried a group chat with them all singing happy birthday. It was pretty funny actually, because being a 1-year-old and she didn't really know what was going on, and I don't know if it was due to the lag, but the happy birthday wasn't synchronized as much as it should have been. So, but even that, I mean, even that being able, the various relatives being able to still be part of it, it's been amazing. And obviously FaceTime as well has been huge for us, being able to FaceTime Nan and that sort of thing. But thankfully now with the Premier relaxing the requirements for people, to have the restrictions for people to have people over at the house, that's been relaxed now. So hopefully we can sort of get back to visiting people, which is good. Yeah,
I can actually, that's my Nan's in a aged care facility, so I don't think I'll be seeing her probably for the rest of the year. It's tough, isn't it? Yeah, well, she's got Alzheimer's, so she doesn't know what's going on either. So it's really that's been the hardest part of this whole pandemic situation. And we do call her up, and we're trying to do some outreach out there. You can't visit the home now unless you got a flu vax, which luckily we've got. But yeah, it's interesting. Also, like my parents have been contacting their grandkids like almost on a daily basis now with FaceTime and Zoom, and I think it's like almost like a distraction, because they're just, rather than them, because they're bored too. Like my nieces and nephews can't go and go have play dates with other kids, so they're just bored about their brains, and so put the iPad with Nana and Grumps on, and then all of a sudden they're entertained. Yeah. Well, see, that's like I was saying before about us being business as usual. At home here, we've kind of had to be business as usual as well. Both my wife and I work, so my son was doing school right up until the last day, and my daughter's been in daycare, so it's been kind of surreal. My son, obviously he's 9 and he's quite mature about it. He understands what's going on, but it's amazing the impact that this has had on kids. They kind of know that they're not supposed to be hanging out with their mates, and they kind of know why. But it's going to be interesting to see down the track what sort of impact this does have on those sort of small minds as well. Wow, yeah. Bring back to creativity. I mean, pain and trauma is usually the biggest catalyst for creativity, and I just think, I never paused to remember what effect is going to have on the kids, but wow. Yeah, we've been able to do sort of things with them, but obviously, they can't see their mates. My son does talk over the PlayStation with a few of his chums from school, so that does help out. That does help out a little bit. But I mean, we've been going for walks. We live close to town, so we've been going for walks most days, and even that's a little bit strange. Like people kind of taking a wide berth, when you walk past them on the footpath, and it's a strange old world, to be honest. I don't know what else I can talk about. It's to the point of it being business as usual at work. It's a bit boring. It's boring for us, we're sort of doing the same stuff over and over every day. Everything's Corona related, and it's a bit strange. Yeah, trying to get the virus out for the show, but sometimes it all just comes into it. Yeah. Do you think? Well, I have a few guests that I have been on saying that it's going to be a lot more empty office spaces. Do you think this is also going to turn the corner and be more people going to work from home? And you think that's going to? Yeah, I mean, I would love to have had the opportunity to do a little bit of work from home. I'm actually working from the front seat of my work car because they've given us all a work car and told us not to come into the office. Now, my
my day-to-day stuff, I don't often go in to the office, but, we're trying to work out on the road. But my friends that are working on the road, are working from home, half of them are really loving it, and the other half are finding it a little bit tough. I've got a friend who just has a cat for company, and that's about it. She's finding it a little bit tough, that obviously conversing with people during the day. And I mean, I'm lucky because I still photograph people throughout the day, so I still get to have that kind of human contact. And but yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's sort of opening a whole new world for not just individuals, but perhaps even businesses, the way they do things.
Yeah.
I mean, from our point of view, a lot of the journalists are working from home, and yeah, look, perhaps going forward, that might be a way they might be able to operate. Instead of having, I mean, from our point of view, instead of having a newsroom full of 100 people, you could have a third or a quarter of that and still pump out the same amount of work.
Yeah.
And I guess it gives the people that are working from home the opportunity to work the hours that they want, as long as they're still producing the work that's required.
Yeah, I don't think the content has suffered. I think it's just the same. You just can't tell. I mean, you even look at the American chat zone hosts that are doing it from their lounge room, and it's just still there. It's just the the canned laughter and the audience live. That's just missing. But I think moving forward, I think this is just a new unique way of us looking back at ourselves and put our priorities right, I think.
Yeah. And how is Make Place going? I mean, is shared workspaces, is that going to, do you think, be a lot more popular in the future?
Yeah, well, actually, Make Space got bought out by Space Cubed.
Oh, right.
I actually joined Space Cube last year, and I kind of left Make Place, but I think now it's gone back full circle. So I think that's probably the best thing for them, because I think Make Place had that Space Cube network with all the best and brightest in the state. I think that's you're going to be in a better position for networking, and because some of the level of the startups in Space Cube is quite immense. I mean, we're talking potentially companies that go 7-8 figures. Wow. Born in Perth.
Yep.
I think the thing with the Aussie startup scene is that the ideas are there. I just think the challenge is getting the capital in. I think moving forward as well, we need to put an emphasis on self-reliance, and we need to put an emphasis on, yes, we can do it. Yeah. Because much as I hate to say it, we've got to look at how we deal with China, but we can't, way America's unfolding now, and their society is nearly collapsing. If you look at it from an outside point of view, we can't be reliant on America either, so we'd have to do it alone. No. And actually, I'm actually writing a whole blog series about this, and I think we're in the box seat. We'll come out unscathed, like we came out of the Spanish flu pandemic unscathed, relatively. Numbers were quite low back then, and it'll be low now. We've got resource rich. Our geographical reality, we are in Asia, so I think yes, we're going to take a bit of a recession, and we're going to have economic downturn, but that'll be short-lived, and I think we'll be bouncing back. But we really need to have a look at ourselves. We really need to rethink how, rather than just digging stuff up, we need to build stuff and need to have that creativity flowing so we can create more jobs that are sustainable. We also have to bear in mind too that a lot of the manual labour will be gone in 10 years. Yeah. So I think now is the perfect time for us as a country to really just push that creativity through, and I think we'll come out really strong on the other side. Yeah.
Well, it's been interesting, even from a local point of view, that the way Mandurah people have come together and supported a lot of the businesses that have tried to stay open, through either just going in and buying a coffee or getting takeaway from a local restaurant that perhaps they haven't tried before. And you'd really hope that heading forward, that sentiment continues with any WA or Australian businesses that do sort of fire up. And I love the idea of supporting, the Aussie businesses, and especially the local businesses. Yeah. And it seems, going off social media, that a lot of people now are realising how important it is. And I just really hope that going forward that they do sort of stick to their guns and I'm not saying not buy from overseas, but if the sentiment at the moment is really supporting your own, I really hope it does continue going forward. And
so
even
too.
locally, if people just keep supporting those businesses, because I mean, 3/4 of my mates, down here are all local businesses, and some of them, like I said, lost their businesses overnight. And it's going to take a long, even when they are allowed to reopen, if they're a restaurant or a pub or whatever the business is, it's going to take them a while to recover. And I really kind of hope I keep seeing these memes on Facebook of these like hordes of people rushing, into through a doorway, and it says, the crowd back to the pub when the doors open for the first time. It really does need to be like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd love the idea of, when the doors open to your favourite restaurant, that everyone gets down there and, has dinner or has a couple of beers, and because that's what's going to be needed, I think.
Absolutely, I think all the businesses now that have pivoted are ones that will survive sustainably in the long term in the future. I think ones that have accepted the situation and decided to ride the wave, not saying that, oh, woe is me, that's the end of it. Ones like there's a local brewery who's making soap or hand sanitizer, things like that. Or I think there's a case in Perth where bridal wear manufacturers are now just making scrubs for the doctors and nurses. It's just that lateral thinking is going to get us forward. And I think it's our patriotic duty to make sure we support all our local businesses as they get to reopen and spend much of that stimulus money into them as possible. I think that's what we all need to do.
Well, being a fan of the local craft beer, I'm trying hardest to support them as much as I can. I'm probably, like many Australians, probably having more beers nowadays than I should be. But I'm hoping that even from their point of view, that the support that support does continue. Are you seeing that locally? Are there businesses that have adapted the way that they do business to stay afloat at the moment?
I think they are. I think I had a few webinars with a few local businesses, and I think that general consensus, the ones that are thriving and the ones that have just changed, just pivoted towards the situation. Like I have pivoted away from social media into more podcasting, online courses, that sort of thing. And I think that infrastructure is going to set me up. And I think others are doing exactly the same thing. And I think,
You think social media at the moment, for those businesses that aren't operating, is it as important as it has ever been? I'm trying to encourage my friends that are in business to sort of stay active on social media. Obviously, they can't,
of course,
kind of talk about much, but obviously coming out the other side from like your point of view, coming out the other side, businesses are really going to almost need to rebrand and promote themselves quite heavily, aren't they?
Yeah. So right now, my advice for all small businesses, local small businesses, even the ones that have closed down, forget about business as usual. Just generate much goodwill as possible. Okay. A good lesson is you look back at the Great Depression in America in the 30s, how Kellogg's became the #1 cereal brand in the world. They, first and foremost, before the Wall Street crash in 1929, they were like the 5th biggest cereal manufacturer in America. During the 30s, when all their competitors cut back on marketing, they ramped it up. But they also told their employees to voluntarily cut back their hours so more families can go onto the production line, and therefore they have more breadwinners in the family. That created a lot of goodwill with the people. That put them in a stronger position once the post-war era hit, then they came out the strongest. And I think it's a value lesson. What we all can do as local businesses is just generate the goodwill. Just don't worry about selling. It's just showing that A, you're open, B, we're here to support the community, and just share a laugh, share a story, do something that's a little bit crazy, even experiment with something with TikTok if you have to do that, or even just go. I mean, even LinkedIn's got huge organic growth, so that's a good way of presenting your business in a professional light, and it will reach lots of people. And just keep that momentum up, because if you close down now, right, you're going to lag behind. And if this crisis goes on for 3 to 6 to 9 months, your competitors will be 12 months ahead of you in terms of getting the algorithm up, all the content up. So that's going to be a lot of hard work, and that's going to be a lot of money, which a lot of people would not have to remedy that situation. So my advice is keep the social up, keep speaking to your followers, your audience. Your audience are the most important stakeholders right now. Actually, there was stakeholders before, but they really are right now. And just keep that, keep it flowing. I can't stress that enough.
And you mentioned TikTok. I mean, I feel like I'm questioning you now, but I've got such an interest in this sort of stuff. Is TikTok exploded, and obviously, it is popular with a certain sort of demographic or age group or whatever. But I mean, I'm seeing polys using it. I'm seeing is that the next big thing? Is that what some businesses should be looking at using?
Yes, but do not use it the same way you use like Instagram for it. You have to be TikTok. Have to be complete overhaul the way you think about content. First and foremost, TikTok is fun.
Yeah.
You should also be wary too that TikTok's owned by the Chinese, and there is some. You don't want to know where the data is, but at the moment, look at the AFL coaches. They're just dancing with their kids. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
It's a good distraction, really. If you're stuck at home and you're looking for something to do, make up a 37-second video of you doing some really daggy dancing in front of the lounge room. Why not?
Yeah.
It's, as I said, that's probably a good vehicle for goodwill. And if you're a business, just look into it.
Yep. Yeah, you got to kind of create a bit of fun at the moment, don't you?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you go a bit sort of stir crazy. I've been sharing as many Donald Trump memes as I can on Facebook and Instagram because there's some beauties going around about that guy. But most of them are kind of funny. Even some of the memes that are going around about coronavirus are quite funny. I mean, it's a situation that's probably not to be laughed at, but. Well, I guess if you can find a bit of comedy in it and keep yourself happy by having a bit of a laugh, there's probably no harm in it.
There's no harm in it. As long as you laugh at, it's a way of coping.